This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
I'm Dan Klepler in New York with this ABC News Digital special report. The 2014 Winter Olympic torch is scheduled to arrive in Sochi on Russia's Black Sea in less than 182 days. But Moscow's embrace of a rash of new anti-gay laws is throwing the Games into turmoil. Today, gay rights group All Out delivered a petition signed by more than 300,000 people from all around the world, delivered to the International Olympic Committee in Switzerland. And officials there have received the complaint and accompanying letters from former American Olympian Greg Louganis and British writer and actor Stephen Fry. For the latest on how Russia is receiving this and any potential moves by the Olympics, we're joined now by ABC's Kirat Radia via Skype from Moscow. Kirat, thanks for being with us. What exactly does this petition say? What is it asking of the IOC and the Russians?
Well, hi, Dan. Well, this petition is asking the IOC to protect the athletes and fans who are going to be attending the Games next year. This law does say that anybody who spreads what they call propaganda of non-traditional sexual relationships can be fined, thrown in jail, and even deported. And that's all code word, of course, for gay speech and gay symbols. So even talking about homosexuality around minors in Russia is illegal, and these petitioners want to make sure that people who will be going to the Games will be protected.
And we have heard about some gay athletes that have said that they are going to be wearing a rainbow flag pin, they are going to be displaying any kind of way that they so choose, and that's obviously causing a lot of uproar in Russia.
Yeah, right. I mean, that would go right in the face of the law. And just a short while ago, the sports minister of Russia said that he urged all these protesters to, in his words, calm down. But he did say that people, athletes included, will be held accountable under the law. He's making the point that sports and politics should not be mixed, but at the same time saying that the country has its laws and they have to be respected.
Let me ask you this then, Kirat. As far as from the outside of Russia, the rest of the world is kind of seeing it perhaps a little bit differently because we're not the host country clearly on this. Is Russia being seen as being somewhat tone deaf to the kind of pressure that's being built in up around it from this?
Yeah, they certainly haven't been making much of the outrage overseas. You know, in the United States, there have been calls to even boycott the Games, boycott Russian products like vodka. But in Russia, that has not been the case. You know, these laws are actually very, very popular here. You know, homophobia is extremely widespread throughout the country. You have to keep in mind that homosexuality was illegal under the Soviet Union. It was only decriminalized in 1993. And until 1999, homosexuals could still be thrown into psychiatric wards. So the mindset here has been sort of in that sense, you know, in that mindset for a number of years. And those laws, again, are extremely popular here.
Now, given the fact that obviously Russia is under that kind of pressure, but the International Olympic Committee is also under a great deal of pressure as well.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of calls for the IOC to speak out to condemn this law, but they so far have refrained from doing so. They've made general statements about the need to be inclusive and in the spirit of the Games, but they are trying to stay away from the politics surrounding it. The IOC has said that they are assured, have received assurances from top Russian officials that athletes and fans will not be targeted during the Games. We've asked the IOC ever since these warnings from Russian officials have come out that the law will remain in effect during the Games. We've asked the IOC about that, and they have said that that they're sticking with those assurances.
So just, I guess, to make sure that we are understanding this, the IOC has been given this assurance, in fact, that its athletes, the spectators, and those that are going over there are going to be protected, yet Russia says, in fact, it's not going to bend on its law.
You know, there have been some mixed signals from Russia about this. Just last Thursday, the sports minister came out and said that the law would remain in effect. There was immediate outrage around the world after that comment. And the next day, some other Russian officials came out and said that that would not be the case. And then this week again, you've got comments from the sports minister again and others suggesting that, you know, at least suggesting that athletes have an obligation to follow the country's laws. So some mixed signals being sent for sure from Russia, but again, the IOC saying that they are going to that they are satisfied by the assurances they've received.
Now, the Tonight Show's Jay Leno asked President Obama, he was on the show just a couple nights back, and he asked about the potential for a boycott just a few nights ago, and I want to listen to the president's response if we could.
If Russia wants to uphold the Olympic spirit, then every judgment should be made on the track or in the swimming pool or on the balance beam, and people's sexual orientation shouldn't have anything to do with it.
All right, so what did Russia have to say about that?
Right. Well, so far, the Russians have been brushing aside all of the international criticism about this. They've been making the case that this is their own sovereign law, and they don't seem to really be engaging very much on the international criticism at this point.
Now, the administration, the Obama administration, has pulled out of one-on-one talks with Vladimir Putin, as had been previously scheduled ahead of the G20 summit. The White House citing a number of reasons for pulling out, from Edward Snowden, the NSA leaker, to Syria. Will the Olympics become another sticking point?
Well, you know, the U.S. has had a history of pulling out of games in Russia before. You may recall in 1980, the U.S. boycotted the Summer Games in Moscow over the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. And I think since that experience, there's been there was a big backlash from athletes that had trained their entire lives for this event and then weren't able to compete on the world stage. And I think that experience has tempered people's actions this time around, certainly. I don't expect that will, you know, there are growing calls for this, of course, but so far none of them coming from the administration. But the comments you saw from President Obama were more explicit than he's ever been before. Perhaps now that he doesn't have this summit coming up ahead of him, he'll be more liberated in his ability to speak out for these things.
What do you see like on the streets there as far as any kind of local opposition to this?
You know, there is a small but vocal gay rights movement here in Russia, but, you know, you should see some of the videos sometimes that are online. These people are attacked when they, during gay rights protests. They're often arrested for holding unsanctioned protests because their permits are often rejected to hold a protest. There is, like I said, a large anti-gay sentiment throughout the country, and really it is the majority of people that do not feel that that homosexuality is a natural thing, and there are many people who in fact feel like it's completely justified to attack homosexuals.
Is it, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, is it the majority in support simply out of silence or out of vocal support?
No, it's really not out of silence. It really is that, according to most polls here, a majority of the country is supporting restrictions on supporting this law, which prohibits speaking about homosexuality around minors, and then really just attitudes towards homosexuality are extremely negative throughout the country.
And lastly, I just want to ask you, just from your own personal observations, what have you been seeing on streets, on sidewalks, in cafes, bars, things like that? Have you seen the intensity grow over the past couple of weeks?
You know, like I said, there's a small group of vocal supporters of gay rights here that stand up to the beatings, the eggs being thrown at them, the arrests that happen every time they protest. But other than that, no. I mean, it really is something that's happening outside of Russia. I think, you know, if you talk to you know, some of the urban elites, who are maybe more educated and in cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg, you will find a higher percentage of people that support it, but still, I would not say that it's the majority. It really is a country that is still, even if not everyone is hostile towards gays, certainly very wary of them.
All right, ABC's Kirat Radia via Skype in Moscow. Kirat, thank you for your time and your insight. 300,000 signatures have been delivered to the International Olympic Committee asking to condemn Russia's anti-gay laws, all ahead of the Winter Olympics coming up in 2014. We have a complete report on abcnews.com. For now, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital Special Report.
This has been a special report from ABC News Digital.